Greetings everyone, I am Moro Samalpi, and today we are presenting our Wildlife Sanctuary Management System. So this is a Java application designed to help sanctuary administrators track and manage animal conservation efforts. So think about it. Wildlife sanctuaries deals with hundreds of animals, each with different health conditions, breeding programs, and conservation value, of course. So our system tackles this complexity by organizing everything into our user-friendly interface. So before we start, let me show you first this, our blueprint or diagram of how our system works. So let's see the big picture. We built this using a three-layer architecture. So now let's point it out to the top layer or the user interface layer. So here, our main class handles all interactions with users. It displays menus, validates input, and show the result. So now, our management layer or the sanctuary manager. So it acts as our operations director. It manages the collection of animals and providing summary data. So here, in our bottom layer, the purple one, this is where animal event, here event class, and animal status class live. So these are our core data structures that know how to calculate the values and track history. So here, the arrows, they show how components depend on each other, how interconnected these classes to each other. Main uses Sanctuary Manager, which manages animal class, and in animal class there is events and have a status. So this separations keeps everything organized and maintainable. So now let's look at where everything starts. Our code or the main.java. So this imports give us what we need. The scanner handles the user input, the local date tracks when events happen, and input mismatch exception helps us catch errors when users type the wrong kind of data. So right at the start, we create a sanctuary manager object that will store all our animals and a scanner to get the user input. So these two objects are the backbone of our entire system.
Okay, today I will be discussing how the users actually uses our system. So everything starts here at main.java. So this part is basically the brain of our program. So, and then this is our main menu. It runs in an infinite loop so the users can keep performing operations until they decide to exit. So this while true, this part just means that the menu keeps coming back. So after you pick an option and finish it, the system doesn't end. It just shows how the menu again. And now, in a good way, think about it like an ATM. You withdraw money, and instead of shutting down, it asks, do you want another transaction? That's exactly how this loop doing in our system here. All of this loop. Now, everything inside this loop is wrapped in a try catch block. So sometimes we use try catch, and in our code, we use this for the reason that it is simple. Use because we know users are unpredictable. Because even we tell them, or even as a programmer, we tell them to write only numbers. Someone will still write the letters, or someone will still type the letters, symbols, or something that is random. So, without try catch, one wrong input could crash the whole system or the whole program. So instead of letting that happen, of course, we catch these errors or those errors to show a friendly message. and let the users try again. So the program stays stable and then the data stays safe, of course, and the user doesn't need to restart everything. So basically, this this combination of while true and try catch is what keeps the system running continuously and safely, no matter what the user does or what he will type and etc. If you look at the diagram, this shape right here in the middle represents the main menu. So we place it at the center on purpose because here this is where everything connects. No matter what the feature uses or the user chooses, whether it's registering an animal, updating health, or recording an event, this program always come back after finishing. So think of this menu as a home screen, home screen of the system. So every action starts here and every action ends here. So each arrow coming out of the menu represents one option. When the user picks an option, of course, the program follows an arrow. There, this arrow. And represents the task. And once it's done, of course, it doesn't just stop. Why? Because it goes straight to the back of the menu again. Here. Now, so the user can keep doing things one after another without restarting the program. It creates a smooth flow where the system is always ready for the next action. And then the important part is the cycle only breaks when one situation. What situation it is? When the user chooses exit, of course. That's the only time when the program leaves the loop and actually ends. So as long as the user doesn't pick exit, the system just keep running. Running, waiting, and responding. That's what makes the whole user flow continuous and easy to use. Now let's go back to the code where we need to have a input validation there, here. So before we even accept that choice or the option, we need to double check if it's actually a number. So if the user types something like hello instead of a number, of course the program won't panic or it doesn't do any chaos or what. So to clear the input, we need to show an error message. So it's for our validation. As a user, we need to identify if it's actually accurate or not. So we need to clear the input, show an error message, and just go back to the menu. So it's from the diagram I explained earlier is it will just go back to the menu. So basically the program will just say try again or something like that. So once the program input is valid, of course, in this syntax, in choice equals scan.next end here, we need we store the choice and we clear the data extra line so that the next input will work smoothly. And now for the switch statement. So here, as you can see, we use a switch, which is for our choices. Case 1 until 6. So, register animal, update health, record event, change status, show summary, and etc. etc. So, this switch is basically a traffic enforcer. Why? Why did I say that? Because whatever the number the user chooses, the program jumps to the matching method. See? Each program does this job, finishes, and control gas straight back to the menu loop. So that's what I explained earlier at the diagram. So in option 6 is the only exception. As you can see, case 6 return. So it's only the exception. That's when the program actually stops. And now you'll notice the diagram earlier. There are a lot of red paths. I'll just show it. There. So as you can see, there's a lot of red paths. This so those represents all the moments where something goes wrong. You can see like it's invalid input or missing data. So instead of crashing, the system just shows an error message, as you can see here, and sends the user back to the menu again. So the system is very something like forgiving. It doesn't punish mistakes. It just asks the user to try again. So overall, this menu system just keeps everything clean and organized. The menu controls the flow, inputs are checked, errors are handled properly. So the users can keep using the system without breaking the program or without breaking anything. So that's how we make sure that program runs smoothly and from the start at the end. It just works properly. That's it.
Good day. My name is Mark Nathan Arboco, and I'll be explaining the animal registration. Let's dive into how we actually add animals into the system. This is probably the most critical function, since everything depends on having the animal registered first. So first, let's take a look at the validation chain in the diagram. So in the register animal, we have the validation for ID, species, base value, and health range. So each diamond is a gatekeeper. Every time we hit a red error box, we return to the menu. So after the validation, we then now proceed to creating the animal object. Then we calculate the initial conservation value and then proceed to adding it to the sanctuary list. After displaying the success message, we then now return to the menu. So now, let's see this in the code. It starts in the register animal with a parameter of scan and sanctuary, since we'll be needing it when we validate and when we add the animal to the sanctuary. So first, we print the register new animal. So and next, we can see the three layer of validation for ID alone. So first, it asks the ID. And next, there's an if statement for validation. It asks if the input ID is a valid number. If if not, it throws an exception and prints ID must be a valid number. So every time we throw an exception, we go back to the menu. If the input ID is a valid number, it then now stores it to the ID. Next, it validates if the ID is a positive number. Next, it validates if the ID already exists in the sanctuary. So after validating the ID, we then now proceed to validate the other attributes. We do the same pattern for species, base conservation value, and health rating. We validate them first before accepting. So for species validation, we validate that the species cannot be empty. For the base conservation value, the base conservation value must be a valid number and a positive number. For the health rating must be a valid number. So after validating the attributes, we then now proceed to creating the animal object with its attributes. After creating the animal object, we then now proceed to adding it to the sanctuary. So after successfully adding it to the sanctuary, we then now proceed to print a animal registered successfully.
Hello, in this part I'm going to explain the animal class, which is our data model layer or the entity layer. So It has attributes of ID, species, status, which can be active, transferred, released, or disease. You also have a base conservation value, which depends on the species. So if a species is much more rarer, then its base conservation value would be much higher. So we also have a health rating, a history and array list of events for that animal, and we also have a current conservation value, which we always calculate whenever we make changes to that animal, such as update health, breeding success, medical failure, or whatever that is, international recognition. So moving to the code, as you can see from the code, some are marked as final, meaning we cannot change those attributes once we set them, such as species ID, which makes sense. We also our base conservation value, which cannot be changed once we set it up. Also, we have the constructor, which have several validation, such as such as ID, which cannot be equal to zero or negative. Also, the species cannot be null, so we won't accept a null value. Also, goes the same for the status. For base conservation value, it cannot be zero or lower. For health rating, it must be 0 up to 10 only. So that's pretty much the attributes and the constructor for this class.
So, dangal greetings everyone. I am Anthony Larce and discussing the conservation value calculation algorithm. So, this is the heart of our system, how we calculate an animal conservation value. Let me show you both the code and the algorithm. The calculation starts here with the base conservation value, then applies health-based multipliers, then process all historical events. Here, where the health multipliers comes in the diagram shows 4 branches. Health 8.0 or higher multiplied by 1.2, that's a 20% bonus for excellent health. Health 6.0 to 8.0 multiplied by 1.0 is full based value. Health 4.0 to 6.0 multiplied by 0.8 is only 80% of the base, and below 4.0 multiplied by 0.5, half value for poor health. This rewards good care. A healthy animal is worth more than conservation efforts. After applying multiplier, we loop through every event in history. Each event has an adjustment, positive or negative, that we added to the running total. Breeding successes add value. Medical failures subtracted. International recognitions adds value. Each creates an event object that gets stored in the array list. So let's walk through to this example. Base value is 1000. Health is 8.5, so multiplier is 1.2. That gives us 1200. Then we add breeding successes, which is 150, subtract medical failure, which is -50, add international recognition plus 200, and the final value is 1500. This animal is worth 50% more than its base value because of good health and positive events. And here's the key. We can trace backwards through the events and explain exactly why it is worth 1500 points. Complete transparency. So this method shows that if breeding success, it adds value. If medical failure, it subtracts it. And if it's international recognition, it adds value. Each creates an event object that gets stored in the history of ArrayList.
Greetings. My name is Galila Gansat, And now that we're done with the calculation of conservation value, let's proceed with update health and event recording. But first, let's start with the flowchart. If the user selected the option number 2, which is update health, then the system will ask the user to input an animal ID. In our code, we have two error checking here, whether the user input an invalid number or they input an animal ID that is not registered yet. So if any of these two has been triggered, then it will be considered as not found, show an error message, and return back to the display menu. But on the other hand, if they input an animal ID that is registered or existing, then it will be considered as found. So let's try them all. Valid number, and this one is not registered yet, so animal with ID number 7 is not found. Let's try the one with registered, is 2. So we're here now, and we have another error checker. This one ensures that the user will input from 0 to 10. If they do not input from 0 to 10, then it will cause an error message. Return back to the display menu again. So let's try to satisfy this one. As you can see, it is successful because it saved the old conservation value, it updated the health rating and recalculated, then the new one minus to the old one, and after that added to the event history. After the recording of event, it will display the new value. As you can see here, the new value is here. Then return back to the display menu, just like here. And now that we're done with the update health and event recording, let's proceed to the next part.
Hi, I'm explaining to you the Sanctuary Manager and Summary Reports. So, this is our show summary section diagram. So, while individual animals are important, the Sanctuary Manager brings everything together at the organizational level. Let me show you how we manage the big picture. Remember, the Sanctuary Manager, it sits in the middle layer. It manages the collections of animals and provides summary to the UI layer. And I will show you the code of Sanctuary Manager. The manager maintains a list of animals, calculating total compensation value. Notice we only count active animals, transferred, released, or deceased animals don't contribute to the sanctuary current value. Then the calculate total box. This is the diagram shows this to clearly calculate the total conversation value. Only active animals, it's a business rule, get it right, not into the flow. And next, I will show you our code of finding the highest value animal, and in a linear search, we start with negative infinity, then check each animal, then we find with the higher value, then becomes out of champion, the new champion. This is our code. The next is our report box diagram. This one. And the implements the final display of total value, highest, and complete list. It's the manager's dashboard. Everything they need to see. Um, it's a glance. The summary gives a complete picture the sanctuary conversation portfolio. Which animals are thriving? What's our total conversation impact? Who's our star performer? All answered in one report.
Greetings everyone. My name is Desiree Morasa and I will be explaining how this system tracks an animal status and records a complete history of events. This part is what makes the system trustworthy, transparent, and realistic for real-world use. And before I dive into the diagram section, let me first explain the animal status enum part. So in this system, an animal can only be in four states, and that is active, transferred, released, or deceased. We created this using a Java enum called animal status. The reason why we use an enum is that because enum can only restrict the values to a valid option so that an animal can never end up in an undefined or invalid state. Now that we've defined what status is, let's now look how it fits to the diagram number 2 or our system architecture. So this diagram shows that every animal has a status, and that status must come from the enum, in which this enum creates a clear type safe relationship between the animal and its current state. And with that, the status relationship is being established. Our next discussion is all about the event class, which records everything that happens to an animal. In this event class, as you can see on the attribute part, there's a type, value adjustment, date, and the details. This simply tells that each event stores what happened, when it happened, how it affects the conservation value, and any additional details. And in this attribute part, there is also a final keywords, which tells that all fields are final and once created, it cannot change. With this, it ensures the event history remains accurate and trustworthy. And now that we understand what an event class is, let's look at how we ensure events are created correctly. Let's dive into the constructor part. In this constructor part, in this constructor part, it is called whenever a new event is created. And in the if statement part, these checks or validate the input before the object is created. And if any required data is missing or invalid, the constructor throws an exception. This illegal argument exception that prevent from being recorded. And as we go down to the code, you will notice that there is a this dot part or assignment. And what does this do? This part ensures that every event object stored in the system is valid and complete. So once an event is validated and created, the next step is how those events are used in the calculations. So let's now dive into our diagram 3. So now let's go to our diagram 3, conservation value calculation. So in this diagram, the type events like health update, reading success, medical failure, international recognition, finalize and evaluation represent key moments in an animal's life cycle, and each one contributes to final conservation value and builds a complete history. And after seeing how events affect value, let's look at how users trigger changes in the system. Let's now proceed for our next class, which is the main. So now let's go to our main Java class. In this main Java class where the change status method is located, it handles the updates of an animal status. In change status method, this program first asks the animal ID and the animal ID the user wants to change the status, and if that animal ID was found, it asks the user to choose a number that represents a status like active, transferred, released, or deceased. And instead of changing the status using numbers, the program uses switch, in which this switch expression translates the user's choice into a specific animal status and value. This makes the code clearer and prevents invalid status assignments. And to better understand how this process works step by step, let's look at the diagram 1 on or our complete system flow. So in this diagram, it visually shows the change status feature from user input to status selection and finally to updating the animal's record. So let's dive deeply into the change status. As you can see, that change status, as shown here, the user choice flows through the system and then gets mapped to the correct enum value, and then updates the animal object. And with this visual flow matches really exactly what we saw earlier in the change status method. So after the correct status is chosen in the main class, the responsibility shifts to the animal class itself. And this is where the status is actually applied and validated. So now let's move on to the animal class. In the animal class, this is where the set status method is located and where the status change is actually applied to the animal object. So in the set status method, the first thing that the system does is to validate the input. And if the new status is equals to null, the update is rejected immediately. Then this protects the system from invalid or incomplete data. But after the status is updated, the system doesn't stop there. It immediately finalizes the final conservation value. So let's go back again to the diagram 1. In this diagram 1, after the update animal status, you can see here the finalized conservation value. This is where the system locks in the current conservation value and records why it changed. By attaching a reason to the update, the system creates a clear audit trail which makes every status change traceable and accountable. Now that we've seen the individual parts, let's step back and see how everything fits together. So bringing it all together, we have here the three diagrams, and these diagrams work together to tell a complete story. Let's start from the diagram 1, complete system flow. This diagram 1 shows the user journey, how people interact with the system, how validation protects the data, and how everything flows. Next, next one is the diagram system architecture. This diagram shows the architecture, the three clean layers, the clear responsibilities, and the maintainable design. The last diagram is the diagram number 3, the conservation value calculation. So this diagram shows the algorithm, the transparent calculations, health-based multipliers, and the complete event history. So in order for us to know what makes our system valuable, let's go to this tab. So first, we have we list here the several important programming concepts. There are 6. First, it follows the object-oriented design. It means that each class represents something real and has a clear responsibility, and it makes the system easier to understand and easier to extend later on. We also apply the defensive programming, and this system doesn't just assume inputs are correct, rather than it checks them. And by validating the data at different levels, we prevent invalid or risky values from entering the system in the first place. And instead of letting the program crash, we use the exception handling. This exception handling allows the system to respond properly to errors and give meaningful feedback, and which is especially important in real-world applications. And the another important part is the data encapsulation. Sensitive or important values can't be changed directly. They are only updated through controlled methods, so the system always stays in a valid state. We also include an event history. Every significant change is recorded with date, type, and details. And this creates a audit trails. So we always know what happened and when it happened. Finally, we have transparent algorithms. The conservation values aren't just shown as final numbers. So you can trace how each value was calculated step by step, and which builds trust and clarity. Now that For now, I will quickly explain why we made certain design decisions. First of why array list. We use array list because it's flexible and easy to iterate through, especially when dealing with data that can grow or change over time. Next, why enums for status? We chose enums because enums we choose enums for status values to make the system safer. And this avoids typos and ensures that only the valid option or predefined states are used. Next is why final fields. Some fields are marked as final because they should never change once they are set. And this protects important data and prevents accidental modification. Next is why event history. The event history exists to maintain a complete audit trail, which allows tracking, reviewing, and verifying every action in the system. Next is why three-layer architecture. We make a three-layer architecture or the diagram that I've shown you earlier because it is used to keep the things organized. And lastly, why health multipliers? We added health multipliers in order to reflect to its conservation logic. And to summarize, every validation in the system protects data integrity, and every recorded event adds transparency. So the system isn't just functional, rather that it's carefully designed re- to reliably understandable and trusted. And that's all. Thank you.